Okay, this is something I just want to share real quick. Now, although it's not completely understood in terms of what the exact mechanism is that promotes this, there's a direct correlation between maximal voluntary contractions and the growth response. Now, under normal conditions, only one maximal voluntary contraction is performed in a single effort. So anytime you do a set, unless you're lifting a max weight that you can only do one rep of, what's happening is you're performing a bunch of submaximal voluntary contractions until fatigue accumulates until you reach a point in which the weight is a momentary maximum for you, and a maximum voluntary contraction is going to be required to actually overcome the resistance. At that point in time, you're going to hit what is called failure, and you're not going to be able to produce enough force to overcome the resistance again. So anytime you go to failure, you perform a maximal voluntary contraction. And even though the exact mechanism isn't fully understood, there's a direct correlation between maximum voluntary contractions and the growth response. There's a popular study that was done probably over half a decade ago. They had two groups of subjects. In one group, they were lifting 80% of their max as many times as they could until reaching failure. The other group, 30% of their max as many times as they could until reaching failure. And they both achieved the same amount of growth, even though one was lifting significantly lighter weights. So what was the common denominator there? That they were both performing maximum voluntary contractions. So the tip that I want to introduce you to is to perform consecutive maximal voluntary contractions in a single effort. The way you do this, on your first rep, put on your max 100% of what you're capable of. Do one rep. Take off 5%, do another rep. Take off 5%, do another rep. Repeat that 5 to 7 times, and you're going to have performed 5 to 7 momentary maximum lifts, 5 to 7 maximal voluntary contractions, which will recruit and fatigue way more muscle fibers than you probably are currently doing, even if you go to failure, because you're only performing one maximal voluntary contraction when you go to failure. So you could do a drop set and maybe get 2 or 3, or you could do a super fucking intense drop set like that where you do 5 to 7. You do that 2 to 3 times, you're looking at 15 to 21 maximal voluntary contractions, as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 that you would normally have been performing in the first place. So that's something I wanted to introduce you to, because a lot of people, when they're not getting the return on investment of time and effort that they believe they're entitled to, they start to look externally to try to search for reasons why that is. Take a look at the way you're doing what you do. Are you performing maximal voluntary contractions? If you are, how many are you getting? If you're not getting many, this is something you can include into your strategy to perform more, since they've been linked to the growth response. Now, on the other side of the coin, you got to take a look at, this is a very high risk type of method or technique. You're performing multiple momentary max lifts, so the risk of injury is significantly higher. And as a result, because a max effort is required for every single fucking rep that you're doing, the recovery required in response is going to be significantly greater too. So this is a very advanced, potent, powerful method, probably the most powerful and potent method ever, because it's just max lift after max lift after max lift while battling fatigue. However, if you're not getting the results that you believe you're entitled to, you might want to look at the way you're doing what you do, and this is something that you can include in your strategy to help promote a better response. But you do risk overworking your capacity to recover if you include it, and you also risk injury, probably more so than with any other method that there is. So that's something I wanted to share real quick. If you like the information, share it, click the fucking button at the bottom, subscribe to the channel. I'll keep bringing you the best information you're going to find.